So let's talk about, I'm guessing everybody here has listened to Mac Miller's Balloonerism.
Yes.
I did. Yeah.
So Balloonerism is the second, I always like saying it my way, but you can correct me, posthumous
Awesomeness.
album.
Thank you.
From Mac Miller since the rapper's death in 2018. It was released alongside a short film directed by Samuel Jerome Mason on Prime Video, which I have not seen. I listened to this project, and I'm not going to say that I was pleasantly surprised necessarily, but it is a really good album.
I tell you what, man, I ran it.
Only because sometimes posthumous albums,
they usually don't land too well.
They usually struggle.
Yes.
Yeah. But I pressed play on this and listened to the whole thing all the way through, and I didn't feel the need to skip it all.
I tell you what, man, this
from
is
a creative, artistic standpoint.
Yeah, because you have to kind of put yourself in a different situation and a different set of ears to listen to this. As a fan of this guy's music, I'll let you go first, though.
Only thing I'm saying is from to Lone's point, as soon as I pressed, well, we used to press play. We don't do it no more. But we'll
still press
do.
When I press play on my tape player.
Yeah, there we go.
No.
Yeah. But
press play on my phone.
The music, the musicality, the ideas, execution, the production is live. This is something that I wish I could have been a part of from a session standpoint. I didn't know it was going to be this, and he was always musical with his production, but man, the way that this was set up, I thoroughly enjoyed this project. A lot of dope ideas, the vocals, the way it's arranged, the skits, if you will. He was talking about the chords in the beginning on the intro. That all that type of stuff goes to my nerd side when I hear that. But the actual music itself was beautiful, bro. I don't know what phase he was in. It's kind of spooky too when you hear him talk about
what phase he was in.
Yeah,
but when he was talking about certain things on that, it was kind of eerie, a little spooky, some of the stuff that he talked about. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed the project. It's very good.
I need to listen to this a couple more times, but just from the jump, this is very close to being my favorite Mac Miller project. And
he's got some good projects.
And he's got a lot of really good projects. Yeah. So
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, I mean, I had to listen to it twice because the first set of ears I kind of alluded to. I listened to it as a fan of his music, and I kind of personally, somebody that I really like or enjoy rock with musically, when they pass, I kind of have an emotional attachment to it, so to speak.
Right, 100%.
So the first time I listened to it, it was real eerie to me. I think I told you about the second track on there. Sounds like you're actually in like
a funeral,
awake, you know what I'm saying? You're going to view the body type shit. It was weird at first. So it took me back a certain way, and I wasn't comfortable listening to it at first. When I went back and listened to it again, I had to listen to it with a different set of ears. And I listened to it just as somebody that may not have knew who Mac Miller was. And I was able to enjoy it from that point of view. And the musicality on there is crazy.
Man.
But it sounds like a tragedy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's literally telling you what he's going through, but it is... The thing about music sometimes is there's pain in the poeticness of it for an artist that knows how to paint the picture for you, so to speak.
Right.
And I think he does that very good. He makes being in the attic essentially sound like a good thing to do on this album.
He at least describes it in a manner that's like, because I don't want to say he paints it in the great light, but he does a good job of kind of like explaining like, this is just kind of where my life is right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't really have any interest in leaving it.
You know what's crazy?
Outside of the references of being dead
of having is comfortable, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not those exact words, but he alluded to heaven is where he wanted to be.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are going to be able to relate to this project.
Unfortunately.
On
a different side.
Exactly, bro. To the other side of it, there's going to be a lot of people that will be able to be moved by this. And to Lone's point initially, when we initially started talking about this, they usually don't land this well, these types of projects. And for this one to actually land well, just, in my personal opinion, It's beautiful, man. It's sad too because of, to Terry's point, but it's just.
But there's a reason why.
It's partly because this album was not recorded once he had already passed on. He actually had recorded this before.
Right.
And just didn't put it out. Now,
this wasn't a piece together type thing.
Right. And you can tell it wasn't.
That's why it sounds so authentic.
Yeah. It sounds authentic. I mean, granted, I guarantee somebody probably put a little extra sprinkle on it here and there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Mac really doesn't have a bad project.
I agree.
And that's because he was a musical person. I mean, he had an alias, a production alias that went by Larry Fisherman. And if you didn't know that Mac did it, you wouldn't know that that's who it was. But anyway, this project I think was, and quote me if I'm wrong, was too closely centered or alike circles, and he was going a different direction, so he didn't put it out.
Yeah.
So this kind of sat in the vault, and they decided to put it out. But
Faces,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
I said circles.
Good call.
Faces, yeah. This project is deep, man. It's like when I hear it, it's like Kanye had a line in Power when he said this will be a beautiful death. If I could describe this as anything, that would be this album, because he's alluding to what ultimately is his demise. What's going to take him out, and it sounds so good, and I almost feel bad saying that.
Yeah.
Because is very musical and it is very personal, and Mac had he had a knack of actually being able to create music that wasn't it wasn't popcorn shit. It was like he put some thought into it. This was literally his life. He would do this. The drugs helped him make the music, and the music was his escape, or actually his reality that would bring him back to earth. Isn't it funny
how it's not funny, but the artists that really pour themselves into the music, it always seems to surface and come out in the wash, if you will. This is the prime example of that. The people that quote unquote being alone always talk about, if you care, do you care? Clearly he cared about this. This was something he was actually going through in real time. They just tucked it away in the vault, and it comes out in the product.
Yeah.
It comes out in the product. This is a high quality product. It's not because he just pieced some shit together. Like, you can tell he was actually going through something and cared about what he was doing. He was venting and releasing, and it just came out in the quality of the music, man. I don't know what to say.
It's just one of those things where, of course, like it's hard to listen to just because, like, you hear the talent, you hear how well crafted it is, and you start having those selfish thoughts where you're like, I wish I had more.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, the fact that we only have, two, I mean, depending on how you count the double album, we only have 2 albums from the Notorious B.I.G. It just seems unfair.
Yeah.
You go through all these what ifs, and, there's a line on there that just got me where he's like, nobody dies on Thursday. I mean, I don't know, Friday. And he died on a Friday. Yeah. And it's so, like, there are parts of this where it's like, it's almost like it's a suicide note. Because in
a weird way.
Because the thing is, like, I know he did not technically commit suicide, but there's with people ODing, nobody means to do it.
Yeah.
It's always some circumstances where, like, you're really hit the bottom, or like a lot of people right now who we see wind up ODing, they're being poisoned, with all this fentanyl and whatnot that's out the streets. Like, these people are just trying to get high so they can cope, and
that's essentially what happened to him.
That's what we're dealing with when we, where it was DMX or Michael K. Williams, or even it's not Philip Seymour Hoffman. Was that Philip Seymour Hoffman? Yeah. Where, like, these people are just trying to get high, and they're essentially being poisoned by fentanyl, which I mean, like, that's a whole nother conversation. But, like, that's what makes it kind of hard to listen to, because of, the circumstances of his death. You hear what he's rhyming about, and then you just think about what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And it just makes it, you're happy to hear more Mac Miller music, but you're sad he's gone, and you're sad about, like, the state of the world that not only brought about his demise, but you just got to think about how it's affecting everybody else who is not as talented as Mac Miller. They're just struggling with this on a regular basis.
That's true.
Yeah.
It sucks as fans, sometimes we get selfish because, to your point, we say, I wanted more from Big or whatever. Like, we deserve more albums. The same way with Nip. Like, come on, man. I needed more of that. We wanted more of that. Same way with Mac. Mac would fall in the same category. Like, I need more. We want more. As fans, we think about that, but you have to remove yourself from it and think about what people are actually going through. It has nothing to do with, their gift. It's just real life stuff. And this is a prime example of an album full of somebody talking about what they actually were dealing with. Mm-hmm. And he just happened to, execute it well.
Yeah. I actually watched a video on this whole Mac Miller album review from Professor Sky.
Okay.
And he talked about the song that you're talking about, Jay, where he talked about Nobody Dies on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And this just shows Mac Miller's musicality. Like, he wasn't somebody that just was a one-trick pony, so to speak. He actually was involved in music. So that particular song was actually a nod to the Beatles song. You Only Live Once, I believe, that was on Sgt. Pepper's.
Let's look that up.
I want to say it was the last song on the album. And I wouldn't have gotten that unless he actually alluded to or specified what it was. I think they have some similarities as far as
or Come Together. You talking about the outro?
No, not Come Together.
Oh, okay.
No, I want to say it's A Day in the Life. I think that's what it is. So A Day in the Life and Funny Papers.
Yeah, Funny Papers is probably to me is a standout on that record.
Yeah. Me personally, I think my favorites on there were Friendly Hallucinations and Stoned.
Okay.
I think are my favorite two tracks off of there.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to it to pick it out. But I do remember, I listened to this from a very intentional approach of like just wanting to listen to it from start to beginning. So I don't know any names of any songs, but the way that it flowed together, the minimalist parts and then the really heavy parts on the drums and certain parts and the way that the music... This is great, man.
Background vocals, arrangement, bridge.
It's a really good project, and I feel like when it ended how it was supposed to as well. So,
recipes to Mac.
Recipes to Mac Miller, man.